Hi, have you ever seen a baby in the womb? The photo or picture of a baby in the womb? They usually lie very inactive because in the womb there is not enough space for a football field. There are no televisions, no video games, no cell phones, and obviously no video games. Now, when a baby is born, it is usually the parents or the primary caregivers in the home that usually program that baby to become whatsoever that baby could be. Some parents put the screen in the hands of their newborn babies, but for us, we advocate that you put books into the hands of children if you want them to become readers. I'll get back to this. Hi, I'm Gozi Okure. Welcome to my YouTube channel. In this channel, we discuss books, reading, and how to leverage reading for success in life. Please subscribe to my channel, and if you have subscribed, you're my returning subscriber. Thank you so much. In today's video, we'll be looking at how to give children a reading culture in the home. What are the practical steps we can take as parents to ensure that our children become readers? Of course, you know we have everything to gain if we are able to program our children to become readers. For one, you know that when children are readers, they can acquire any skill or learn anything they need to learn to become upwardly mobile. They can learn anything they want to become highly successful in life, okay? And it is the dream of every parent to raise stars. So today in this video, I want you to stay with me. I actually have 7 good points to discuss in this video, so please stay with me. Point number 6 is highly necessary. Okay, so please, let's go. The very first thing you need to know if you want to raise readers in the home is that to you, the parents, you should read books. You should model reading. Now, why is this so important? This is important because children usually do what they see us do. They don't just do what we say, they do what they see us do. So as a parent, it's so important that you read books. And this is very important for 2 major reasons. Number 1, you need to model reading for your children. Now, when the baby sees you read, you're communicating something to that child. You're telling that child that reading is important. Remember that, as I said, and this baby is just coming from the womb, your home is the very first world that that child knows. So whatsoever the child sees happening in your home, it carries it out as how things are supposed to be done in the world. So when the child sees you reading books, it communicates to him that books are important and that people should read books. The next reason why it's so important that you read books as parents is because parenting involves a lot of teaching. Parenting involves a lot of instructions, and you can't give instructions on things you don't know about, okay? So when parents lack knowledge, they raise vain children. That shouldn't be you, okay? So it's so important that you read so that you will be able to have the relevant body of knowledge for effective parenting. You shouldn't go ahead and raise vain children, because that's exactly what happens when people are raising children, especially in the 21st century. In the 21st century, it's so important that you are knowledgeable so that you will be able to raise knowledgeable children. And how can you be able to raise knowledgeable children if you don't have time to read? Because it is said that books are idea banks. So when you open the pages of books to read, you acquire the necessary knowledge that you will eventually transfer to your children. You remember when we were pregnant for our babies, we will go to the hospital, antenatal clinics, and those nurses and midwives will tell us to eat for 2. What do they mean? They are simply saying that whatever you eat, your baby will take part of it, okay? So that applies also for knowledge. It is what you know that you will teach your children. So when you're reading, bear in mind that you're acquiring the necessary knowledge that can make your child an upwardly mobile child. So having said this, I want to remind you parents that when we say read, it is so important that you appreciate that we are not talking about reading for extended periods of time in the day. Research has shown that reading for just 10 minutes or 15 minutes in a day has a lot of health implications for you as a parent. It helps your cognitive health, and it helps you to have the right knowledge to give to your children. So reading has a lot of advantages for you as a parent, so please read. Now, the next thing you need to do as a parent, if you want to introduce reading culture in the home for your children, is to read bedtime stories for your children. Yes, there are a lot of beautiful books out there, books that will tell your children very interesting stories. And the beautiful thing is that children naturally love stories. But when you read bedtime stories for the child, what you're doing is you are stimulating his interest, stimulating his curiosity, his creativity, and it also helps his language development as well as his cognitive health. Okay, so having said that, read for your children bedtime stories. And another thing, another very beautiful advantage of reading for children is that it helps you to bond with that child, because for you to read for the child will lean on your chest, and that type of bonding is so important for a father or parent-child relationship. So please read for your children. It helps bonding. Now, when you're reading for a child also, it has a way of communicating to the child that books are very important. And more importantly, one of the greatest advantages of reading bedtime stories for your children is that it has a way of introducing books to the child as fun, as interesting, right? So this goes ahead to help that child to develop a positive, fun-based association with books. Children whose parents took time to read bedtime stories for usually do not have any problems developing a reading culture later in life, because they already have a fun-based association with books. This is quite different from children who grew up without parents reading for them. Such children usually have a fear-based or a pain-based association. In one of my videos recently, I talked about a woman who attended my webinar for parents on how to give children a reading culture, who said that each time she tells her son to bring his school books, that child begins to cry. That's an example of a child who has a fear-based or a pain-based association with books, right? So if you want to raise your children to have a fun-based association with reading and with books, ensure that you read stories. You read bedtime stories for your children when they are babies, okay? Now, the third thing you need to do if you want your children to develop a reading culture at home is to surround those children with board books as early as possible. Yes, board books are the earliest forms of books that are developed for children. It's usually the first book that introduces children to the concept of books and reading. The board books are uniquely shaped, uniquely colored for very young babies. It's usually laminated. The pagination is quite few and thick, and it helps to introduce books and the concept of reading for the child. So that time that your child is learning to sit down, learning to crawl, it's so important that some of the toys that you surround your baby with will be board books, okay? It's just like catching them early, catching them young. So you give a child a board books. It also helps to introduce a fun-based book association with your child, which will be very beneficial later in life when that child will begin to read, right? Now, having said that, the next thing you need to do is to ensure that you provide age-specific book for your children. Now, what do I mean by age-specific book? This means that when the child is a toddler, that he has access to books meant for toddlers, and he begins to grow to 4 years, 5 years. By that time, they are shifting from, daddy and mommy reading storybooks to them, reading bedtime stories for them. They are shifting to becoming readers for themselves. They have begun to read books. You ensure that you bombard them with books, that they have enough supply of books so that they can keep reading until reading becomes habitual. Now, one thing you need to know about children when they are 4 and 5 years old, that time they have started reading by themselves, is that when anybody learns a habit, when you acquire a habit newly, you want to do that thing for the rest of the day. That's exactly what happens when you learn to ride a bicycle. You want to ride bicycles all day. When you learn to ride a car, you want to ride a car all day. That applies also to reading. When a child learns to read, it wants to read everything in sight. So you need to leverage that interest in reading at that particular time to keep supplying that child with books. And he will continue to read, because man is a creature of habits. Whatever we do consistently becomes habitual. And if you're supplying this child with books, relevant books at that time, you keep reading, and before you know it, he has become a reader. But let me tell you one thing, at 4, 5, these children are usually very captivated by new things. That's why you have to continue to supply the books. You can buy the book and they will read it in one day, and once they read that one, they wouldn't want to read it again. So you keep supplying books. That's what I mean, right? That's why when you buy a toy for a child, he's captivated by that toy. He carries the toy to everywhere, but just after a few days, what happens? He dumps that toy. They do that with books also. So you must have to make sure that you budget and money for buying books for them at that particular age. It's not going to be like that for life. It's just for a couple of months. If you can keep buying those books for them consistently, giving them new books, you will see that it's just a matter of time they will become readers. Okay, now having said that, the next thing you need to do is that you need to take the children to the bookshop once in a while to buy the kind of books that align with their interest. Yes, in this side of the world, we are huge on taking our children for eateries. We take them to eateries, we buy them snacks, but it's not in the consciousness of a lot of parents to take children to bookshops or to take children to libraries. But you have to do that for your children if you want them to become readers. Once in a while, the same way you take them to eateries, you carry them and enter bookshops and allow them to roam, allow them to go around, move around. In bookshops, you're doing a lot of things. They are seeing books, and every book you see in the bookshop has a name. You're allowing these children to dream. One day, my own books will be here as well. And then it helps them to pick the kind of books they love to read. There are different genres of books. Just the same way your child will say, I don't want to eat beans, I want to eat rice. I don't want to eat beans, I want to eat pizza. That's how it is when you take them into the bookshop. They will see books from different genres, and they can pick the ones they want to read. Some parents tell me, my child doesn't love to read, and I will ask them, what books do they have? What books are available to them? They say they have their school books. No, this is not it. Children usually don't have a flair for reading school books because school books communicate work to them. They want to read form-based books, okay? The kind of books that align with their interest, and that's why you should carry them to the bookshops and allow them to pick the kind of books they love to read. And when they come back, you will see that nobody will push them, nobody will tell them go read their books, because they will naturally read the books that appeal to their interest. And as parents, don't even be bothered that this child is reading only comics or is reading only one storybooks. No, just leave them. It's just a matter of time. Once they acquire a reading habit in reading those kind of books that appeal to them, you will see that that interest will spread, okay? That interest will spread. And of course, you know that when a child has a reading culture, that child excels in academics. Why? Because he will not have any issues with reading school book eventually. Now, the next thing you need to know about children and how to give them a reading culture is that you need to create a reading corner in the home, a place that is well lit, a place that is airy, a place that you can put a pillow if you can afford it. I remember in Venezuela, I had a very beautiful, very big, comfy, puff that I could sink into it, and it's reading time. So you can create a reading corner for the child where the child will be comfortable and read. Okay, now having said that, the biggest of them all that you need to be aware of when you want to give your children a reading culture at home is to keep them away from screens. You see, when my children were growing up, I did not allow anyone to watch home videos around them. I didn't allow the watching of home videos in my home, and this is the reason. The people who produce home videos are business people, and they know that it is negative news that sell. So in creating or producing their home videos, they put a lot of negatives in those videos, and children between the ages of 0, that is from birth to 7 years old, their subconscious minds are open, so they're absorbing everything happening around them. So if you present them with these home videos, and inside the home videos there are a lot of negativities. In the home videos, a young girl wants money, he goes to men, he goes to patronize men. A young boy wants money, he takes to crime. And you know, there are a lot of consultations of mediums, a lot of crime-based activities and all that. The young child who is watching thinks those things are reality. The adult who is watching knows that those things are actings, it is drama. The young child doesn't know, and the child's subconscious mind is open, he's absorbing everything. So later, this child will store all those things in a mental blueprint, and that's exactly what he's going to do later in life. Okay, so as much as possible, keep screens away from your children. They will not die if you don't give them screen. I see parents who are offering their toddlers screens. Of course, it's quite understandable that at the age when children are toddlers, they have not developed the concept of danger. They don't know that people die, and that's why they do all the things they do. They climb things and they do very risky things, because they don't know people die. So it is at this time that parents usually give them the screen to engage them. What a lot of parents do not know is that man is a creature of habit, and whatever we do consistently becomes habitual. So by the time they offer them the screen inconsistently, the child gets engaged. Okay, the child becomes addicted to the screens, because screens in the first place are developed to be addictive. Okay, so when the child is addicted to the screen, it has a lot of implications, because the human mind does not have the capacity to uphold or to hold a lot of passions at the same time. A child whose interest and passion is captivated by the screen does not have enough passion to give to school work, to give to reading or academic work. Okay, so that's why it's so important that you keep the screen away from the child for as long as possible, and let that child get a reading culture first. Later, the child can now pick up the screen once the culture is in place, because once the culture is in place, the child will read screen or no screen. Okay, so this is so important, that when you want to develop a reading culture for any child, that you will keep the screen as much as possible. Keep the screen away from him, because screens are very distractive. Now, having said all this, I want to encourage you to go ahead and practice all this. There's no way you will practice all this and your child will not come up with a reading culture. I am not just talking theory. This is something I did for my 3 children. I was able to practice these things, and I was able to give my children a reading culture. Today, they read. Yes, they read. It trails them, it follows them. They excel in academics, and your own children can excel in academics. Thank you so much for being a part of this beautiful video. I encourage you to subscribe to my channel if you've not done so. If you got value from this video, please subscribe to my channel and share this link with someone. And if you want to watch more videos like this that will encourage your children to develop a reading culture, I encourage you to click on the link here so that you can watch a lot of other videos from my playlist. Until I come your way next time, remain richly blessed.